claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back.
Generalized black woman is doing this and being this. That is that is irresponsible.
No, when you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back.
Showing me,
black and proud. Claim you're Africanist, black and proud.
I think that if
when you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back.
a page,
what is the status of people with half FBA?
I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back.
That's why I was laughing, because I am
claim you're Africanist.
I'm not saying the framework doesn't do a thing, but
become a part of it.
We've been
embrace it.
To black men
become a part of it.
Being in the control. We
become a part of it.
Only
embrace it.
That those one of the best stories I've ever heard.
Embrace it. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind
that
back.
mental growth takes place. You've been misled by leadership, for instance, that thinking you can consume.
When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're Africanist. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you.
Claim you're Africanist. I'm black and I'm proud, and I'm telling you. Welcome back. Conversations with Dr. Dog. Special guest in the building, family. I'm hearing I have an exclusive here. For you all. So make sure when you come in the studio, into the halls, make sure you come in. What did I call it yesterday? I want to keep it going. Dawes Lecture Hall. We have a guest lecturer today, family. A guest, and we're going to do this in African formation, where we allow you to come in and be a part of the process, respectfully, And so we got a special elder soldier, Mwalimu, in the building. And today's conversation, Pan-Africanism. I don't even know if he knows the topic, because okay, Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism, and community accountability. So, family, make sure you come in, you like, and share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your sister and brethren, because this should be a very powerful, enlightening conversation, exclusive conversation today with none other than Mwalimu Locy Lamumba. So, again, today's conversation is Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism, and community accountability with Mwalimu Locy Lamumba. Let me just go ahead and jump straight into it, family, so we can get this thing going, get this party started right, and I say quickly, peace and power to Brother Jadorian, strength and love, strength and peace. I think you often say strength and honor, so peace and power to you, dear brother. So our dear guest often like to say some things off the top when I think about those that I bring before you. And again, I promise you, I'm not going to bring you anybody that I don't think, for the most part. I'll let you know. I'll be when I bring somebody I don't respect their mind. But everybody I brought before you thus far, I think, have a certain level of clarity. And I said, whether or not I agree with them totally, they're deep thinkers. And I think even from this dear Mwalimu, I've heard him say something about African deep thought many years ago, and this is something he continuously spoke about. And to me, that is a very pivotal piece, and I see him as one of those African deep thinkers, and with certain levels and high levels of clarity. And I'll be remiss if I didn't say that I really appreciate his mind, his tenacity, his courage, because it ain't easy out here. As a matter of fact, let me do this because it's going to set I think the stage really well. Because I put a post out, and as I'm formatting into being comfortable about certain things, or even more certain about things, or just enough to share. I know y'all said when you wasn't comfortable with sharing, but nonetheless, there's always more. So I put a post out about, I don't know, this is about, it say May the 24th. May the 24th, when was that? I guess that's about a week or so ago.
Day after my birthday.
Your birthday?
Day after my birthday.
Day after your birthday. Okay. Yeah, and we got a post on that day too that I want to touch on. So I put this post out, and I didn't know what kind of response it would get, but nonetheless, I did it. I did it nonetheless. You know what I mean? And I said, as I have here, is the standard bearer. This is the title: Accountability, Integrity, and Community. I put here, things are so complex that in this world, we are all needed. Let me say it again. Things are so complex that in this world, we are all needed. Even the most radical among us are needed. And even those who envision a world built on more harmony and restoration are needed. Our differences balance each other out in ways we often fail to appreciate. There is a place for healers, the bridge builders, the visionaries, and also the standard bearers. Let me say that again so you can hear my R's. I'm from Baltimore. The standard bearers. I put here, being a standard bearer is not a comfortable role. And often I think people don't even think it exists. For the bearer or for the people being held accountable. So I'm saying here, it's not comfortable for the bearer, the one who has to speak the truth, or the one that speaks the truth, nor the people who is touching or shining light on, maybe their own ways, or maybe some ways that people they find popular and they like. People they see as their leaders. People that might be misleading them from my perspective. Yet, the reality is that it is organic and necessary. It is an organic and necessary part of our social ecology. Those who serve in these roles are often seen as intense, critical, relentless, uncompromising, or difficult. But these people are needed. And and I say that, let me just break for a minute, because I hear us say, a lot of us, we talk a lot of spiritual talk. And we say everybody's needed until the person who comes in the room to try to hold us accountable. It's like, well, just, I'll talk a little bit about that today. I hear people often say, well, if you hold somebody accountable, it's really that you're upset with yourself. That the liar in them is reflecting the liar in you. So you holding them accountable it speaks more about you. Now, we can talk about that later. Baba and Mwalimu Locy, put that up there. So even when accountability is delivered calmly, it is still hard to swallow. People often respond with phrases like, we all have flaws, or everybody does something wrong, as a way to minimize the role of the standard bearer. But the bearer already understands human imperfection. In fact, the true standard bearer accepts that they too must be held accountable, not out of resentment for the role they serve, but as a way of keeping them aligned and disciplined as well. The standard bearer understands that accountability is not about ego, punishment, or superiority. It is about protecting community, preserving integrity, and maintaining the health of the collective ecosystem. I think the rest of the post is cut off, but it says this: the standard bearer realizes, and then it's cut off. But I saw a response, if you look to the right of this image, by Mwalimu Locy Lamumba. He says, "Oh, don't I know it well. Have to give a RBG salute to this post." And I say, Mwalimu, Ashe. So that's just how we're going to get it started, family. Make sure you like this video, you share this video, you hype this video, and make sure you stick around and take the ride. So, Baba Locy and Mwalimu, I told the people last night I'm going to be making a mistake and call you Baba. He going to get me, right? And Mwalimu Locy, for those who don't know you, could you share a little bit about yourself? And I often say to people, why are you essential to the conversation? That's just my unique way of putting it.
Okay, so I am a spiritual being having an earthly experience. I must begin with that. And I am a card-carrying, staunch Pan-African nationalist because my history of understanding is that Pan-African nationalism, based upon the great leaders I've studied and read, have said that Pan-African nationalism is the key to the liberation of African people. And as a soldier servant, I'm a soldier because we're at war. And Pan-African nationalism is my armor. I can put that on to battle. And I'm a servant because spiritual law says that be a servant because the servant is the greatest among us. So if I can start my beginning, I would say that I had 55 years in the movement, so therefore I am 55 years old. My sister Laini Makaki and myself, we age people by how long they've been in the movement. Because if you are a certain age, we ask you, well, when did you start the movement? And we subtract that from how long you've been in the movement. So then we relegate that to how old you are. Right? Because we all have come through a system of program indoctrination. And our direction wasn't very clear. We did not know ourselves. So we understand, that process. And most of us who have come up in these United Snakes of America have endured that process. Right. So I began soldiering in the military at a time during the period of time of Black nationalism. It was strong in the community, starting in the late 60s up to maybe the mid 70s. And Black nationalism was very strong in the military. And these brothers coming from Vietnam had actually engaged in war. And their goal coming back was to bring and teach younger brothers coming to the military Black nationalism, its role in the liberation, and how to be a soldier in the liberation. That's my beginning. And from there, studying with the brothers, being guided by the brothers. And I should say this too. It was one time in my life where I didn't challenge anything. I accepted what I was learning and I didn't challenge it. It just felt like that to me, being in the midst of a white nationalist institution that was highly racist. It was my protection. I saw it as my protection. So then from that point, we always said that we would come back to the community where we came from. And we would soldier in the movement through our military science and our understanding of fighting and war and preparation and discipline. And, of course, learning a lot more and being able to teach by example and through the word, Black nationalism. And so that is my beginning. In Baltimore, what is different about being a senior elder coming up in the baby boom generation? What is different about us that is not apparent today with those who are 20 years younger than us, or 2 generations down, so to speak, is that we were engaged in firefights that prepared us to be organizers and to learn struggle. For example, right? One of the first things that I became engaged in coming back to Baltimore in 1971 was the fact that Kwanzaa was kind of new. Right? So we was tasked with the responsibility of learning Kwanzaa from the master, Dr. Karinga, and turn forth Kwanzaa in a manner that would not be diluted in the community. So we first started in our houses, then we took to different places. So that was an engaging kind of social activity, right? Then there was the whole struggle about creating Black studies in our universities. So I attend CCB, and at CCB they had a student union, but we were Black nationalists, and so we developed the Black Student Union, and the Black Student Union was composed of a lot of brothers who come from Vietnam, come out the military. So we all knew what our task was. So we forced CCB to accept us as a organization. They didn't want to do that. But we learned that it was federal law that any organization on a college campus had to be included into budget and given a budget. So we won that. Moreland did not have a Black student union. Kaplan did not have a Black student union. UMBC did not have a Black student union. So when they got wind of this move at CCB, they invited us over, and we began to talk about how the Black Student Union was a Black nationalist agenda, and it began on the West Coast. And so then you had Karingas and others fighting for Black studies in colleges and universities. So that was. So then, there was other fights. There was the Zimbabwe struggle to elevate the conscience of our people about what's going on in Zimbabwe, right? The war in Zimbabwe for independence. So we were on that fight. Then it was the Free South Africa fight, right? So we are engaged in the Free South Africa fight, and we're passing literature, elevating our people's consciousness to what was going on the African continent, particularly since South Africa is the only nation that had a Black consciousness movement, right? So we understood, they understood. And what was so engaging and an example of sacred science is that there was no communication between South Africa and Blacks in the United States of America. But at the same time, we both dealing with what? Black consciousness. So how does that happen? I know sacred science can explain some of that, and I will hope to define sacred science so that we come off with a beginning understanding of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sacred science. So these battles that we're in, police brutality. Right? We had to fight, against police brutality. We had to organize against police brutality. So we're doing these far fights, right? And we're in different organizations, and we are honing our skills of how to organize, right? And to sharpening our minds and building on our consciousness. And and there were other kinds of fights. I'm just trying to give you an example of how we came into being, all right, and how I arrived at my understanding and wisdom in my senior eldership. So as I view a lot of the brothers and sisters who had come into the movement over the past 20 years or so, maybe even earlier, they did not have that kind of training. Most were in a organization and they developed their chops. And in one organization, oftentimes these organizations fail. Okay? And the brothers and sisters did not get into other kinds of fights, did not continue like we had to do to maintain and build Black nationalism in Baltimore. And Baltimore was a transient kind of a town because people came to Baltimore and they didn't stay in Baltimore. They didn't feel Baltimore was conscious enough, so they would go, to DC, or they go to New York. But being from Baltimore and understanding that a soldier fights on the ground that he's on, I stayed. And some others did say also, because we understood that Black nationalism had to be developed and built right here. Right,
Mhm.
right here.
Mhm.
It was so that is part of my beginnings. And I often ask some people who come into the movement, how were you orientated into the movement?
Mhm.
Because my orientation came from Black nationalists who were soldiers, who had seen many of their friends killed in combat, who came and from Vietnam and understood to carry it on. They had to teach younger soldiers. So that's my orientation, Black nationalism. And I ask brothers and sisters, how are you orientated into the struggle? Because a lot of times the way you begin something is the way you end it. And if you began it, did you go deep enough to be able to take on the challenges that will come your way to maintain and be what John Henry Clark and others of our elders told us to be, was long distance struggles. Long distance struggles.
Mm.
And when I'm learning that, I'm seeing in audiences that where our elders at the time were teaching us, when I look around, you know what I mean? Most people could not become a long distance struggle because they wasn't orientated to the movement in a certain kind of way.
So appreciate that. I appreciate the history and even getting to that point of long distance struggler. And you said how you're orientated often determines how you end.
Often determines the end.
The end.
And
what do you?
Beginning often determines the end.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm. How you begin.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So no, you go.
So let's take a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A boxer can come with natural talent.
Mm-hmm.
He meets a trainer. The trainer prepares him through his natural talent.
Mm-hmm.
But boxing is a science.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to last as a professional fighter, then you must be taught the basics, the techniques,
Mm-hmm.
the breathing, how to take a punch, how to duck a punch, and so on and so on. There's a process
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning that will determine whether or not you last 2 years
Mm-hmm.
or 12, 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of example I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Going to school, right? You have those who are intelligent but not disciplined. Right? Then you have those who don't have as much intelligence, but they're very disciplined to do the study from the very beginning. And they garner these skills, these disciplines that will allow them to face the challenges as they progress through the educational process. Because it won't be as hard as someone who's intelligent, and let's say they did not do their homework so much. Let's say they took reading for granted. So let's say that tests in the beginning became easy for them, right? But then they would continue to matriculate, and here come the real challenges that can only be surpassed through the discipline. And a lot of times, they drop out. So I do not fulfill the talent upon which they were born.
So I appreciate that. And I have a question for you.
Yes,
it's kind of off the script. Not that we have a script here, but it's off the conversation. I guess it is. I guess it's not, because we're talking about Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism, and the community accountability. So it's really on the script. So being around for a while, I'm talking about myself, and there's often been this conversation about one of the other senior elders that you brought up. And I've heard what's the Baba name? Sundiata, I think. No, like a revolution. He's like I think he's like more like a a Pan-African revolutionary type of thinker. I think he's very close with Dr. Mwalimu Karenga and all those type of people, right? More of like that. Some people use the word leftist type of leaning type of thing, materialist. But also I think he's very close to Dr. Mwalimu Karenga. And it's often this conversation around Dr. Mwalimu Karenga being an agent and all this other type of talk. Now, knowing a person like you who have such a critical analysis of, and when I say critical, I don't mean negative. I mean one who thinks. What like do you have? I'm certain you've thought about that and you've come to a conclusion. Could you help me with that?
Okay. So let me preface my answer with this. Sacred science says, see the spirit in a person first. See the spirit in creation. See the spirit in everything first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, this brother has brought forth one of the greatest cultural inventions in the United States of America that is having a major impact on our people. If he is an agent, or as they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a soldier, I will take the idea of a white man if I think it will work for my liberation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he exercises something powerful.
Mm-hmm.
If he turns out to be an agent, then it's on us to take him out. If you can prove it. If you cannot prove it, his work is giant. So, for as long as I can view him stepping right from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the best I can from him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to run with it as a soldier.
Mm. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I feel strong. I strongly agree with that, because I'm not one to just take one's analysis. I'm very critical of people who are traders and people who are selling us out and all that type of thing.
So
but even when I look at the research and I put the pieces together, it don't be adding up quite like everybody. Like I'm not saying nothing's there, but it don't be adding up to the degree that people are saying things.
I tell those kind of people, you know what your job is? Your job is taking out.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
If you're not going to do that, you think you want a bad look.
Mm-hmm.
Introduction to Black Studies, my opinion, is the most suitable, efficient book to give someone coming into the movement and want to get a great idea of what the movement and the struggle is all about. It's called Introduction to Black Studies. I see nothing that eclipses that out there. You wrote that. If you put 20 teenagers in front of me and they all want to understand Black struggle, Black history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get a text that I'm going to suggest that we learn from.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the Introduction of Black Studies by Mwalimu Karenga.
All right, I appreciate that. I have a question, and this is kind of like setting it up. And I am going to bend the corner and get back to some of your posts. And I'm not going to read your posts verbatim, but what I will is ask questions around your posts, because you post some powerful thought pieces, if I can call it that. And you notice I'm trying to be very careful with my words, because this is one of those elders that he's very critical, as he should. And what I mean by that is, say it again.
Unity, criticism, unity.
Yeah, because I am too. As I was saying yesterday on the show, like, that we have to be a little bit nuanced. You know what I mean? Like just saying things and just throwing slogans out there is not enough. So with care, I ask my questions. So among many elders, Babas, and Mwalimus, Jagnas, I even heard you use the word senior elders, and maybe I know that you just didn't say senior elder without any type of meaning behind that. So even if you can explain that a bit. And I'm saying you seem to be one of the few willing to publicly identify what you see as deception, opportunism, or grifting in our community. Am I seeing this correctly?
Most correctly.
And with that, I have I'll just throw 3 questions and you answer how you will. What led you to take this approach? Is there a cost to being that direct? Do we sometimes confuse accountability for disrespect?
I'm not caring about hurting anybody's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
When I see you have made a egregious mistake, or you said something counter to revolution, African liberation. I don't want to use revolution at this point. African liberation, or you carrying yourself contrary to what I've been taught, that your behavior should be the example of what you teach. I'm a Pan-Africanist, so if you step wrong in that realm, I'm gonna step at you. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care if you think it's disrespectful. I'm going to be respectful in that, and we're going to have a dialogue. But I was going to let you know now, if you're in the Christian world, you're a pastor,
mm-hmm.
and I see your egregious behavior. I'm not stepping to you. I'm not trying to be a Christian like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so if you're representing something upon which I don't see necessarily as being in my lane, I'm not gonna step to you, right? But I can step to you if you call yourself a Pan-African nationalist or African centered or something like that. Because I'm in Baltimore, I'm gonna see it or I'm gonna come across it. Let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I didn't get to this, but Umar Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
When folk first came to me about Umar Johnson and what he was doing, I told folk that he's scamming. And I explained it and why I thought he was scamming and how they were not being of critical thought or holding him accountable. Who comes to the community without saying he's from an organization, without bringing anybody like a treasurer or an administrator in your organization or something like that? You always come alone, okay? And there is no vetting of him in the community. I told brothers and sisters, y'all wrong. I mean, if you're going to run with him, and because he's articulate, because he can run Pan-African thought down, he's good at that. You know, he understands psychology, and I agree with a lot of things I heard him say. But here you come now, and you're asking for finances that I say you need to take a lot of people up to those buildings, man, and prove your point. And that never happened. So then it comes to what? He comes to the community and he says one morning, hey, y'all, I woke up this morning and the IRS has taken all my money out of my personal bank account. I have no money. Okay. Here's the red flag. You organizing for the community. Why is all the money in your personal bank account? why is it not in a place where if they can come at you, but they can't come at the money that you say you need to build an institution? Who are your advisors? Where are the elders that ever came forth and said that I know this brother, I can vouch for this brother? All of that was absent. So
Yeah.
I never got to meet him personally, right? And I never wanted to because I seen him as being a fraud. That's number one. He's number two. A lot of people who I felt was conscious, and some said they were nationalists. I mean, and throughout the years, I mean, Barack Obama runs for president of the United States, and they vote for him. Barack Obama, politically, ideologically, is a white nationalist. You can't be president of the United States and not be a white nationalist. So you seen hope in a white nationalist in black skin, and I thought you was more critical than that. That was me correcting or getting on some people who have sense. We are not as well with each other as I was then, because then I realized something. There was something wrong in your study. There was something wrong in your interpretation of war, right? And there was definitely, I understand that the European walks around in our heads 24/7. And some of us are digging graves to throw them in there and throwing dirt on them. And some of us still are too comfortable with wanting to be accepted and validated by our enemy. So that's two.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So when I think about the Barack Obama situation, I remember a lot of that. In fact, I think I met Mama Ujima around that time when they was having some of those debates. I think back in, what was it, like 2008. And I'm curious though, your analysis here, is it more that you were concerned about the vote or the hope that they had? Because I'm wondering what your politics is around electoral politics as well.
Okay. I am a registered independent. I am a soldier I was a soldier in the National Black Independent Political Party, a movement that is underrated in the community. Very shortly, the National Black Independent Party was a organization that had various chapters around the United States of America, and it was built from the bottom up rather than the top down. But this is something very important. In its stages, it was a lot of it was a mixture of elders, professionals, black politicians, black business people, youth. I mean, it had a following, right? It wanted to, and it was saying, and I agree, that we are held hostage by the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has never fulfilled the things upon which we gave our lives, our votes, our money to, right? And we are slaves to the party. If we're going to become major players at the table of electoral politics, then we have to come to the table with a political party that's independent, that has our interests at heart. Now, this is important. If there is ever an independent party that comes from the black community, right, and we do not have the numbers to actually elect anybody, but our independent vote counts, then both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party will have to deal with us. Okay? We are not going in one direction or another. And if we do not see that what we bring to the table, the things we want, more housing, decent health care, right? Better school, whatever, right? Reparations, whatever. If that's not coming, then we're going to withhold our vote and let y'all fight it out. So will I vote in a situation like that? I would. I mean, I would. But the vote is not. The vote is only one part of the weaponry that we need, that we could use at hand. But I'm not going to throw it away. I'm not going to waste it. That movement was very, very important. And it was through Brother Jesse Jackson's opportunism that helped kill it. So I forgot the other part of your question, which was.
So I was wondering, you said, you mentioned vote initially, right? And then you kind of you evolved to say the hope that you saw in them. And I was wondering if it was more about the vote or the hope.
More about the hope.
Could you talk?
Yes. Look.
And I get it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. What's the saying, man? You can't serve two masters at one time, right? So the whole time that you're dealing with Black consciousness, right? And we define Blackness in the 60s, 70s as culture, consciousness, and color. All right. And we understand that the work, the internal work, is what primarily you begin with. And the American dream, as Malcolm taught us, returning to the American nightmare, the belief in yourself, your evolution, and your ability to discern should have led one to be very clear about who your enemy is. Sexism, imperialism, capitalism, racism, right? And you have to move away from the things upon which white nationalism is built on. So where is the belief in yourself that you have built up through your consciousness that makes you stand strong as a soldier? And the first thing to come along is a Black man put up in your face and you see hope. Whereas you should have been looking at a white nationalist. So that let me know that at least in the beginning, how they evolved or how they came into the movement, or they never really released the belief in the Constitution and the American dream. They was hoping for something to happen somewhere in there. And they got caught up. They got caught up. And Barack come along at a time. Do you know what got Barack actually elected? Barack got elected because for the first time in the electoral politics in the United States, Facebook, mass media, that our youth was on, they organized for him on Facebook. And that brought other youth into the movement. And he received, as the president, the most votes from Black youth ever. Biden did not follow up on that because the youth did not believe in Biden like that. And Kamala, they didn't believe in Kamala like that. But Barack, they saw a savior. So when you see people who should have known better also fall into that say I understand the youth, but you 30, you 40, you 50, right? And you calling yourself, I'm a Black nationalist, and you don't see that contradiction.
Let me ask you this, since we're on, and I'm hearing the word black nationalist, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a good one.
Well,
I like to do that.
it might be a little different.
Okay,
but I'm gonna ask you. I'll allow you the space to to speak more about what black nationalist is.
Okay.
But in addition to that, there's this movement. I'm not sure if you heard of them. FBA.
I heard, but I'm not down with them at all.
You're not down with them at all?
I'm not down with them at all.
Mm.
I'm not down with them at all. I've seen enough to say, something that. See, I understand that the greatest underrated victory coming out the 60s was the victory given us through our revolutionary scholars in history.
Mm.
It is so potent that I always understood that there was going to be a backlash from the white community, right? And they was having such a powerful effect, right? And this could be mine in people's minds, that it was once taught that a black bookstore could not survive in the black community. That's been defeated because our people are reading more than the data can prove. Everyone's place is a success. It is an institution. Right? And there are bookstores all across this nation. Proof being, Brother Nati and Brother Tabia, and I've got to mention her because they organize everyone's place together, and we don't give our sisters credit for their role in the success of business and things upon which they're also in with the man. We always talk about the brother. I don't do that. Okay. So their business export books to other bookstores across the nation.
Absolutely.
Would it be a success if our people wasn't reading that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No.
And yeah, and even I've talked to them, and they say that since the quote unquote banning of books, actually book sales have increased.
Okay, let me finish up. So the victory of you got them, Ben, Clark, Van Sertima, Jop, Theophile Benga, and other artists who's not as well. See, the victory of that right, was helping to shape the consciousness of the youth coming behind us, even to the point that the backlash we are receiving from the current Christian nationalists and others is because they are now had to deal with their children asking such questions as, Mom, Dad, were we that bad? Did we do that? Right. Because it was filtering down to the elementary level. Okay. So now they know we gotta shut this down. So, but they don't come directly at you. What's going to happen is these fringe organizations, right, are going to receive monies to attack the material, to attack the revolutionary scholars. I mean, to send the whole thrust of where they was going in another direction. And I see them as being that. So.
And Mwalimu, let me do this. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna come back forward because you're hitting on those posts that I picked.
Okay.
And so I want to, because you spoke about Obama. You spoke about and it's not really about Obama as much as it is about those who should know better. Right. And it's not so much about Umar Johnson, is that we have to hold people accountable.
That's right.
It's not so much about people desire how they like these figures, more than that we have to, if we're going to build a movement or maintain a movement, we have to hold each other accountable within the movement.
No question, bro.
You know, so
question.
let me see if there's is there any cap to that before I move on to the scholarship, because I have some serious questions around that.
Okay. Is any cap to that?
Any cap to the accountability piece?
Bro. let me take you back to a deep historical event. I have long eyes, and I've been around a long time.
I appreciate it. That's what I want. Yeah.
So 1972, the National Committee for African Liberation Day organized and convened a March 1972 African Liberation Day in Washington, D.C. The first one. We attended. My brother, when I tell you that was probably the largest gathering on the East Coast since Marcus Garvey brought 20 to 30 people up in New York for that first convention. And there was major a march on the street. When I tell you that just about every vendor over there sold out. When I tell you that the march was supposed to go out at about 10 or 11 o'clock, we were there for the first group that went out, and we walked to the embassies and came back. By the time we came back, a second march had already left, and there was a lining a third. It was the greatest scene of a victory that could be expanded upon, institutionalized every year. That would have done a lot for recruitment. That would have done a lot for vendors looking forward to that day. That would have done a lot for teaching, right? I mean, it was magnificent, my brother. I'm telling you, it was mind-bending.
Make sure I'm following. This is African Liberation Day?
African Liberation Day, the first African Liberation Day in D.C.
What year was that?
1972.
1972, okay.
1972, all right. Now, the next year, I wish I could stay there, but I got to move on. The next year, African Liberation Day, there was projection of 2 dates. Right. And it was kind of confusing to folk, you know what I mean? So we wondering about that. So, okay, what we got to do is then, you know, we went over the Baltimore contingent, and as well as others. We went over to Malcolm X Park at the time, where the march was supposed to be. Walking to the park, bro, we saw great big pictures of Marx, Lenin, Trotsky. Big pictures. A lot of white people in the park. A lot of arguing going on. Fights broke out. And of course, a lot of people just came, turned around, and left. What happened? And I'm coming to your point of accountability.
Yes, sir. Okay?
One of the staunch black nationalists, the brother who was supposed to take over leadership of the movement, so to speak, when Karenga was in captivity, he was in jail, Imam Baraka, switched his allegiance, his allegiance from black nationalism to Marxism. And he was a part of the crippling of African Liberation Day. I give him no slack. In fact, to me, Imam Baraka is a traitor, because he had to understand the power of African Liberation Day 1972 and what that could have led to, right? He had to understand that it was a national effort. One of his students, Hakeem Mabuti, right? He could have told him that he was shifting allegiances, but not participate in the sabotage of African Liberation Day. Traitor. Yeah. Strong playwright. Poet. Yes. But a traitor. And I treat him as a traitor today. I got some brothers and sisters that tell me that that's too harsh. And I tell them, you know what I mean? You are not holding him accountable. He was a part of that dismantling of African Liberation Day. African Liberation Day was nowhere near the 1972 African Liberation Day ever. Ever. So that is one person, that's one elder. Right? I mean, that others also were very critical of him, but he still was allowed to be a part of our community. People still invited him, nationalist functions, things like that. They talked about bringing him here to Baltimore one time. No. No. Traitor. Traitor. Thurgood Marshall was the FBI had a way of going to all black recognized figures. He went to Malcolm one time, trying to turn them, right? And they would say things like, you know, listen, you don't have to give us all a lot of information, but they wanted to know about Martin Luther King's travel schedule, right? Things like that, right? He became an informant. Read his story. Great legal jurist. I mean, just great. And we take that work in hand. But when you become an informant in military science, you deserve death. Who knows whether or not he said anything about King is going to appear in Tennessee that day he got killed. But you can do a lot of great things, man. You know, it's like a priest. A priest. I mean, you know, in the community, and you know, he helping to feed. He's spreading the Christian word, whatever. He's a good person and everything, but he get caught molesting a child. What do you do with him? Does all the good he do hold him in good stead? No. That is the most egregious act. And it has to be dealt with. And that's my feeling about, you know, being held accountable for the most egregious error, and for those who just make a mistake that you say something in front of our children and it's so off base that you can't let that stand. Either if you're there, you correct them in front of the children, or you put them to the side and correct them. We've got, none of us is above having to be corrected when we are incorrect.
So with that, I'm concluding that if we don't hold each other accountable, it will have and has had devastating consequences on our movements.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. None. In the 60s, we called it unity, criticism, unity.
Unity, criticism, unity.
So we acknowledge your work, right? We acknowledge that we still see the good in you if it's there, right? But now we move to the criticism. And whatever is incorrect, we want to deal with it being incorrect. And as best we can, stop you from your behavior or intervene in such a way that you're alienated, right? Whatever is a decision, right? And then we come back to unity.
Yeah.
right? But no tea for the fever. We're not going to just let it go because of who you did or your prior work. It doesn't. That as a soldier, I mean, that's not the best of practices, bruh. If we are going on a march, each one of us is carrying X amount of ammunition, X amount of water, and we get to a destination. We get to a firefight. We run out of ammunition. You felt the need because it got too heavy along the way, not to say anybody. So you put you drop your ammunition 7 miles back like that. You're going to be dealt with. You're going to be dealt with. So if we're moving ahead intellectually and we organizing and you know what I mean. So your weapons is your ideology, right? And your weapon is your standing 10 toes down when we get to where we're going, and we can depend upon you, or should be depend upon you to aid in our victory. But you are ill-equipped. We got to deal with that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we got to deal with that.
So I appreciate that. With you had another post, and you were speaking about it, and I'm trying to paraphrase it here. Speaking about, I can't think about the exact term you used, but you said some of the greatest work of, I don't know how you particularly phrase it, of our movement and just in general, has been our revolutionary scholars.
Yes, indeed.
And then you spoke about the essentialness and importance of that scholarship as being one of the fruits, the major fruits even. And I often hear people say that all the scholarship stuff is not essential. They say we need action. Yet you describe revolutionary scholarship as one of the greatest victories. Could you tell me more about that?
Sure. So this is a good time for me to interject sacred science.
And I got that question coming too. Okay. So yeah, okay. You can intertwine them. Yeah.
Okay. So to be clear, I want to define it first. I want to highlight some of the major core values and beliefs, and then I'm gonna get to your question. Okay. So sacred science, the integration of spiritual transcendence knowledge with systematic observation. Rather than focusing solely on the material world, it treats spirituality and inner transformation as fields of study that require vigorous methodology, personal discipline, and verification.
Verification, you said?
Verification. Now, so first of all, what is a lot of what they and believe it or not, there is sacred science practiced by, on certain levels, a lot of us, and we don't even know it's sacred science. See this? This is sacred science. We didn't know about this at one time. How did we get it? Okay, right? Ma'at is sacred science. Ma'at comes out of sacred science. Sacred science don't come out of Ma'at. So what are we talking a lot about today? Ma'at, right? So when I mentioned earlier that the ancient ancestors taught us to see the spirit in somebody first, see the spirit in everything first, see the spirit in the wind, see the spirit in the water, see the spirit in air going through trees, see the spirit in life first, and you will evolve into a greater space in your mind. Okay, so when we talk about we know energy, energy is made. Everything is made of energy, vibrating at different frequencies. We know that's sacred science, right? Spiritual growth being the primary goal of human life is to learn, evolve, and seek enlightenment. Seeking enlightenment is sacred science. Sorry, Buddha, you got that from sacred science. Okay. Inner realization and blind faith. Just as every Christian or Muslim have a faith, right? I mean, we got to have a faith about sacred science. Sacred science is the ultimate beginning. Everything, all the religions, all the philosophies, all that comes out of sacred science. We put that first, right? All right. Think about when here's the great one of the greatest examples of sacred science. Okay. You down with the Dogon. The Dogon was the people, right? And every 20 years, there's a star that appears. It only comes every 20 years. Sirius A. Okay, they call it right now. The Dogon have a festival whenever that star appears. They have traced the trajectory of that star. Okay. European develops a telescope that can look out in space, right? When the European discovered or seen that star, they too traced it. And guess what? It was the exact same as the Dogon had revealed it to be. How did the Dogon see that? Right? They seen it through what? They seen it through their inner vision. They seen it through their inner vision. They studied it. They observed it. And two French anthropologists went to live with the Dogon to learn about their ability. I don't know whether or not they shared it with the French anthropologists, but they stayed there for about 10, 12 years. Okay. All right. So we asked that question. We asked the question of, there was a time when writing was not invented. Okay. So who invents writing? Now Valley African. From what? There was no prior knowledge that prepared them for that. Right. So it required a level of inner vision. We know about the all-seeing eye of Haru. You down? Okay. That's European putting that on his dollar bill. He sees the value of it, but he can't define it for what it really is, because the European is spiritually bankrupt. And the European does not have the discernment spiritually to really understand inner vision, much less sacred science. Okay. So, but we do. I don't know. My third eye is, as I'm maturing, opening up wider and wider. Sacred science says that we all have the spark of creation within us. It's up to us to expand and develop it. I accept that. I accept that. So having dealt with sacred science, now I want to come to your question. Right? Because your question has to do with the greatest victory, or one of the greatest victory. And yeah. And so give it to me again. So
have here, you describe revolutionary scholarship as one of the greatest victories. Could you tell me more about that?
Yes.
Because in the premises that most people say things like, it's about action, all that theory and scholarship is just a waste of time. So I'm hearing you say something a little different.
Because I see the action in the words.
Okay. Okay.
If you understand sacred science, you can see the action in the words. Even Christians understand, or they talk about In the beginning was the what?
Word.
Could they see the word? Right. What is thought? What is more spiritual that a human being do than to think? Can you see a thought with your naked eyes? No, you can't. You can only see it through your inner vision, right? And we all have inner vision. It's just that some is more developed than others. And when you are cognizant of the power of it, you want more of it. Right? It may take age. I'm 76, so I wasn't dealing with it 20 years ago like this. But I was always aware of my spirituality. Okay. And I kept, so maybe the fact that I'm blessed with it, some of it now. And action. So if you see somebody running track and you see the physical movement and you can't see the spirit in the run, you blind.
That's shame.
You blind. See, sacred science say, see the spirit in everything first. In order to produce writing, our people had to see it first. Where they see it? They see it in their mind, right? And then they looked at the sun, and then the sun as a symbol represents something. Look at the moon and the phases of the moon. Each of that represented something. And then they see a bird, and that becomes a part of the language. And they pull from nature, and they create a writing system. They create the first script in history. And why is that very important, my brother? It's very important because history being written separates prehistory from history that can define, deliver, categorize, explain the movements and the actions of the human race. So they saw it first before it came into being. Remember, everything material, everything visible is a result of the invisible. It's not the other way around. It's not the other way around. It must be conceived in the spirit first. And then you can create it. Let's talk about creation. You got me going a little bit.
Yes.
Okay. There is we can divide the mind into basically three areas, right? Consciousness, subconsciousness, and superconsciousness. And some might define even more, but let's just start with those main three that we know exist. The subconscious mind, if you've never studied the subconscious mind, I would advise you to just start reading about the power of the subconscious mind. Just do your research, because there's some amazing things that go on in the subconscious mind that do not go on in the conscious mind. Okay. Now, the pathway to superconsciousness comes through the subconscious mind. It's superconscious is where creation comes from. You are at your highest when you can create. I'm an artist. I look at a blank piece of canvas board. I want to create something. I'm conscious that it ain't my conscious mind that helped me create. It's not my subconscious mind is going to release to my superconscious mind. I'm a draw. I'm a paint something. I'm a draw something. And if it comes up my mind, guess what? Might be the only one of its kind. That's super consciousness, brother. That's super consciousness. If you can be aware of super consciousness, right? You can create. Coming over here, dealing with sacred science and thinking about, sitting here with you and answering questions, right? Something came to my mind, and I let it go to my super conscious mind because, and I want to share this. I don't usually share my ideas out like this, but I don't care if anybody even steal this or take this. Dealing with operational unity in the community, I'm on that now. I'm definitely going to be about the development of that. We're going to change some things. All right. So I'm asking myself, a lot of times things fail because we cannot finance them. And what is a money maker? If we was to organize operational science on a high level, what? So I said to myself, guess this. You gonna like this. You're gonna like this. I said, what if I took the same type people who was on the panel on Malcolm X Day, right? And we put out a challenge to debate the knows of the know-it-alls, the scholars in the Nation of Islam and Christianity, in Marxism, in Democrat Party or the Republican Party for that matter, to the Greeks or to the Romans, and do all that. And we want to debate which way to African or Black liberation. That's going to be the beginning question. And what we do is, if we get any takers, we do what Don King did to sell a heavyweight fight. We invite people in, but they have to pay at the door. All right. So if we are having those kind of community debates, right, and we're getting out to more people, what is exactly Pan-African nationalism, and what does it speak to towards the betterment, the growth, and involvement of our people? Right. There are going to be people who want to hear some things from us that they have never heard before. At the same time, I posit that we will defeat anybody in a debate about which way to African liberation, because we're going to be coming from our revolutionary scholars. Y'all bring your Bible, you bring your Quran, you bring what you want, but we're going to bring what we have learned and been taught through what? History, our story, right? And as Minister Malcolm said, all study. History is best qualified to reward all research. We know y'all don't research like that. Who put us on that track? Our revolutionary scholars. Through the spirit of the word that have been actionalized to the point that now we are being and they are being attacked. What could be more real than that?
Yeah. So with that, what comes to mind when you hear people say things like, and I'm sure you understand it, but when they say things like, I mean, all the studying, what's all this studying for? We just talk, y'all just talking, or the like what comes to mind kind of briefly before I go a little bit deep into the sacred science questions. And then after the sacred science, I want to go into more of this symbolism versus liberation that you talk about.
Okay.
And then I want to kind of close it off with okay. Yeah. So, I want to cap it off with that symbolism versus liberation and family. I put the link in the chat if you have any questions for Mwalimu. Please join in. Baba Ori, thanks for letting me know about Mwalimu's mic being low earlier. I appreciate that.
Muted. Okay.
So
am I better?
No. You were good. I had to fix something over here. I was just letting them know. The good thing was you were projecting, so you were being picked up in my mic. But the thing is, I had to turn yours up because some things happened. So I really appreciate that. So yeah, so family, I feel y'all jump up in here and have a little talk with Mwalimu Locy Lamumba. I'm certain you're hearing in real time that scholarship that he speaks to, and him being a student and a senior elder and more, and why I say that I appreciate his mind and also his analysis. So with that, I think now I'm trying to figure out remember what I just said, but I said I was going to speak to more of the scholarship. Hold on, let me see. Sacred science.
Okay.
Let's see what I know. You spoke about the sacred science, but you also spoke about the super consciousness. You spoke about my yacht. You spoke about. You kind of hit all my questions, but I want to kind of ask you this: why is it essential, though? You know, well, I mean, like I'm being a little facetious, though, because a lot of us actually, when we're in these different struggles, it's like, I don't know, like, it's this materialist versus culturalists and all these type of conversations going on, and some people would say some of this is just cultural mumbo jumbo, and you know, like all the things, right? And you know, it's really about this materialist perspective. And I'll throw an extra one in there. I want to know what you think about our dear ancestor, Kwame Ture.
Okay.
And tying all that together, because I remember me going to African Liberation Day as a child. Now I remember going, but my father hadn't reminded me that what was going on around me. But yeah, like, so yeah, let's talk about that. I wonder if there's any connection there from the what you would probably call the devolution of Pan-African Liberation Day. So yeah,
So when I hear or come across somebody that says, you know, why study or why read, I understand I'm dealing with an infantile mind, and you don't feed a child fish with bone. I take them where they are. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with it, because when I dialogue, I want to dialogue with a mind that when I come away from it, I've learned from that mind. Like I say, sacred science is seeing the spirit and life in everybody, okay? And I know that you, the person that's coming from, you have not done no serious work towards African liberation, or you don't know anybody who's done any serious work towards African liberation. And because if you did, right, and you were steered correctly, somebody would have put a book in your hand, because we don't know everything. And there's every strong Black nationalist that I know have a library in their house. It's about some level of study. Okay. So when you be studying, Brother Saw, your superconscious mind is doing something with it. It may not manifest that day, may not manifest for whatever, but it is doing something with the word. So it becomes very essential that someone like Jap, who is sharing his scholarship, some of that you can understand, some that you don't, you can't understand it. You know, I don't understand everything I read by Jap, but I know that I'm into a giant mind. Okay. Defeats any criticism of us moving ahead based on our study. I don't have a lot of time for it. And I can discern people who get up and talk and don't do any study. You know what I mean? They don't do any studying, right? Or they're not around people who they share their mind with, who are progressive of thought that can correct them. And people launch criticisms basically because subconsciously they criticize their own selves. I mean, lack of action, because they think action is motion. And when you throw out a thought, that thought has action. You got to be able to see that. Sacred science allows you to see. And I even now would talk about sacred science to somebody before I would talk about Pan-Africanism.
Tell me more about that.
Look at what sacred science is. Okay. Pan-Africanism is a ideological political term in itself. Right? Sacred science is spiritually feeding your spirit and your mind. So before I would want to interject my political philosophy on you, I would like to interject something that would take you into another phase of your evolution. I would want you to open up your mind. I would want you to see what inner vision is. I would want to see you with a greater understanding of my art. I would want to meet your spirit where it is. I'm not going to attempt to indoctrinate you. I want to attempt to help you evolve and grow. So if you don't have any politics at all, right? If I can expand the evolutionary process of my brother and sister, I will want to do that first. And if that brother or sister began to operate out of that, and I am the source of the beginning through the word, they coming back here. Then I can take them into something like, well, look, we at war. It's not, it's hard war. We're losing that war. We need brothers and sisters who understand that we're at war and want to be about the business of defeating our enemy. And for me, having, looked at Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Lumumba, you know what I mean, and Mr. Malcolm and Marcus Garvey, and all of them is telling me that Pan-African nationalism is the key to African liberation. Why don't you check that out too? Then I'll be more comfortable introducing them to a political thought after I've helped them in another kind of a way. That's why.
Well, yeah. We had some questions. We got some challenges too, and some insults. But hold on. But this question here, we at least got one insult. But Revolution TV 16 says, I've missed a portion of this. If the brother in Mwalimu hasn't addressed capitalism and the ramifications of it since its inception in the 16th century, could you ask him? Is anything?
The subject matter was Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism, accountability. Okay. And actually, to talk about that, I don't need to mention an economic system that is as egregious and murderous as that. But if you want me to talk about capitalism, the only thing that I would want to say at this point is that it has to be defeated. And the part of the answer would have to be a system that you could put in place of that. And I like a lot what I read about socialism, but there is racism in socialism. Okay. And I would want to say this to you, my brother. Mao Tse-tung used Marxism, Leninism, and Mao Tse-tung thought as an ideology for the Chinese Revolution. All right. Now that China has its success in the revolution, and now is as great and fantastic as it is defeating the peasantry and bringing more of its people into a higher state of living. I want you to know that even in China, they use features of capitalism. So obviously, everything about it is not evil. That's it.
So let's see. Yeah, so I won't go into that particular question. So family, we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. If you want to come in and ask a few questions, please hit the link. But moving on to, I appreciate that, Mwalimu. So symbolism versus liberation. Put here, one thing I hear throughout your post is a distinction between symbolic participation and actual liberation work. Could you tell me more about that?
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about Nelson Mandela, the symbol. Okay. When Nelson Mandela fell and he was facing jail time, his symbol and substance was used as a rallying cry for the ANC, the African National Congress, as well as other South Africans. So he serves 27 years. He went in with great substance, and he was being used now as a symbol for liberation. The enemy that never sleeps. After 27 years, they use the symbol to their advantage because the substance was gone. So why did I say that? Okay. You bring a man out of prison after 27 years, I ask you, what the hell does he know about running a country? He wasn't even an administrator of running anything in the government before he fell, right? So the substance is gone because he comes out to be a leader of a nation fighting for its independence when it was decided that there will be political independence. That's all South Africa got out of it. The enemy still controlled the economics. The enemy still controlled the police department. The enemy still controlled the military. Why would he buy that? Because the substance Nelson Mandela would never have before he went in. Comes to America at the Kennedy Center. I'm there, and a lot of other black people are there, okay? Before he goes to do his presentation at a press conference, he was asked about the problem of black people in America. This is his answer. I didn't come here to get involved with the inner domestic problems in America. I have no comment. Winnie Mandela, who spoke, you should have heard her. That was the substance. That was the leader. That was the revolutionary. She didn't care. She laid it out there. So what does he do later on?
Mm-hmm.
He does what? He divorces her.
Mm.
The woman who kept him full with love, attention, letters, finances. I mean, she did her role as his woman, right? But because one of the things that he disagreed with was this whole thing about some trader, well, she ordered some trader to be killed and that she had a lover. Damn, Nelson, you were married when you took up with Winnie, right? If Winnie had got 27 years, you wasn't going to become celibate. She had to do what she had to do. Plus, Winnie opposed him on the many points of transference from the so-called liberation from the whites to the blacks. She seen it. It was a sham. And you as a man, you were no longer that man. See, that's symbol and substance. All right. Nothing wrong with the symbol, huh? The red, black, and green is a symbol of liberation, right? And the reason why people use a flag is because a flag can say more than words can say, right? So we had the red, black, and green from the 1920s. It's still here. And we done had some great leadership under the RBG, right? See? But it's a problem using a human being as a symbol. It's a problem because everybody's subject to change. And what happens when the symbol dies? You know, you don't play with that, man. You know, your symbols must be geared to life, last a lifetime. And the RBG is doing that, right? And people got different flags, but I noticed that during the Black Lives Matter movement, when I seen these young people marching in the street, did you see what they was waving? They was waving the red, black, and green. I said, oh my goodness, if we were as a nationalist committee, if we were ready, we could go get that energy. But we weren't ready. So who told them about that symbol? And I mean, it was prevalent in those marches, right? So, yeah, that's symbol. And behind that, there's substance. Because we've had black independent schools, brother. We've had a movement, right? We might be in the low ebb of the movement. I disagree that say we retreated from the movement. We retreated because we had to retreat. Great armies have retreated from the battlefield after being beat, right? So we did the common sense thing. People left the movement. People went to jail. We was losing the thrust. So we had to retreat. That's a part of military science, right? That's a part of military science.
You got me wanting to ask a question that so do leaders retreat?
No. You go into battle. The forces overwhelm you. You know what the saying is? Run to live to fight another day.
Mwalimu, I'm asking this question because I had a long dialogue last night about whether or not there's any leaders, if we have any leaders. And then one of the clips I showed was what somebody sent me was Nelly Fuller saying that we can't have leaders under white supremacy. The only time we will realize that we have leaders is if they could basically at their will send white people running. and you can't go. Yeah, so I was gonna hold off from that, but it kind of came, it kind of builds off of this retreating piece. Yeah,
I'm gonna push back on Neely Fuller, and I respect it.
I push back too, but
I'm going to push back. Okay, because is he saying that Mr. Malcolm wasn't a leader? Is he saying that Kwame Ture wasn't a leader? Is he saying that Martin wasn't a leader? Is he saying that there have not been some substantial gain when from slavery on, Black people have never taken a backward step? They may have taken a baby step forward, but we have never taken a backward step. We are still advancing in the sense of not only survival, but development. We are people that have actually built institutions. We are people who actually built towns, that we had a level of independence that was attacked and destroyed by our enemy, right? We are a people who have contributed to the wars in this country simply because we felt as though we would get a better shake after the war. Those soldiers were leaders, right? The Union would not have defeated the South has it not been for Black leadership, even though we fought for one thing and they gave us another. Anytime you're in a fight. Let's break it down even basic than that, man. Down to human nature, okay? If you have a problem and it's a group of you and you want to go forward, human nature is going to state and come to play that leadership is going to come forward. That's only natural. That's nature. Or they all die. But so you can't say that we have not been in situations where some fight had to be against our enemy, and that we didn't have it. Nobody stepped forward. Nobody stepped forward. I mean, that's not. Even in the integrationist, assimilationist people, and we are nationalist, separatist people. Even in the civil rights movement, there were local leaders, and there were national leaders, and there were organizations that these leaders built and came from. You got to say that, right? In the nationalist separatist camp, who we are, we've had leaders, right? And many of them, my brother and sister, are unsung, unheralded. So if you're talking about you got to see somebody with a name, okay, I mean, that's your problem. I mean, but most leaders, let me break it down militarily for you in a minute, right? Because there in military, there is, there's the major, then the captain, then the lieutenant, and then there's the sergeant, okay? All of them are leaders, right? The major, if he's available, he will lead. Something happened to him, it's automatic. The captain takes over, right? So it's a ranking order, right? So now, the brothers who taught me Black nationalism talked about being in the field where a sergeant gets killed and there is the pecking order and there's nothing left but the GI, the privates, right? I'm in the military. I am I'm a 11 Bravo, meaning I was infantry soldier, right? There are so many examples, man, where somebody stepped up and was recognized for their leadership because that person knew the right call to make at the right time. They're gonna be unheralded, unknown. And it's the same thing with the liberation movement. It's the exact same thing.
Right.
It falls down to your common, unknown who emerges in a leadership position. So I wouldn't even entertain me and Neely Fuller. I wouldn't even debate that. I wouldn't even talk to him about that. That's how off I think he is, and he's on a lot. I would rather hear him talk so I can learn from him. You know what I mean? But when you step wrong, you got to be held accountable for that, right? How do you teach children that? If you don't create a victory in the face of white nationalism, you're not a leader. I hope you are. I hope you are quoting that right.
No.
I hope you're quoting that correctly.
Oh, I would play the clip, but it's gonna give me a strike.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Well, basically,
don't worry about it.
No. But basically, essentially, it's saying that you can't, because it's been this debate, and I've been debating. I didn't know how you was gonna answer. I said, well, since you're, let me see what you say. Basically, essentially, and again, I agree with ancestor Neely Fuller with a lot of things, especially around his analysis that we don't understand racism, and lots of the codes and all that type of thing, right? Now, it was a clip someone sent me. Now, I could say that they decontextualized that. I'm not sure, but it was out of his mouth. Okay, his words that basically all black leaders are white leaders.
In this day of AI, you say it's his words. Because people put stuff in you.
You ain't never lied, right? But no, he says it. Okay. He says it. I looked it up, right? Because I looked it up and researched it, and but you know how I would have to look further into it. Okay. To kind of like say, is there some context that I'm missing here? Okay. You know what I mean? But I really regard Neely Fuller highly. But that one point there, I just can't agree with. And the fact that because we are in this environment that there's no leadership. In fact, so what I did was I pulled out yesterday that even though we even question and challenge, I'm talking about even our greatest scholars, Dr. Amos Wilson and Dr. Asa G. Hilliard and so forth, talk about leaders, the misleadership class, but nonetheless, they say there's leaders, there's a misleading. So, but there are, then Dr. Hilliard said that basically, well, he did something very similar to that you did, but he was even speaking to some of his contemporaries. He said, well, basically, I see, I have a whole list of people who I see as revolutionary leadership rather than this, lack of a better term, misleadership class, right? So he started calling people out like McIntyre, people like Haki Madhubuti. So he's not even saying, well, he spoke about some of the revolutionaries of Africa, right? But he also spoke about his own contemporaries. He actually talked about, of course, I think Dr. Ben, you correct me if I'm wrong, was a bit of an elder of his. Yes. Yeah, a bit of an elder of his, right? Dr. Ben would be. Yeah. So he named him, right? He named Chelsea McIntyre. He named so many different people, right? Indeed. And so again, that's been a point of conversation. I got you in the community recently, because I'm saying no, we still have leaders. We just have to be able to identify them, and I think it's a disservice for us to say we don't. And it's good that we have leaders that you don't know. And because they don't put you in the news, don't make them leaders. Exactly. Or not leaders. Right. All spokespeople are not leaders. Yeah, and that's what I agreed with from Baba Neely Fuller's analysis, that he did say he included himself as being a spokesperson and said at best we will have spokespeople. That's what he said. At best, we have spokespeople because I have a mic. But of course, we know that people are doing more than just talking. I can't see him not understanding that in the literary world, he is a leader. Well, absolutely. I think that's when he's a deep thinker. And so, sometimes we go a little, whatever. Operationally, if I sat down with him, I probably could agree if he defined it the way, I just don't agree with the definition. But yeah, I could go with it scholastically, what he's trying to say. I just don't think psychologically it does. You know what you said it? You said it better. You said, what is that? How do we say that to our children? Right. And that's what I mean by what type of psychological, what does that do to us psychologically?
That's right.
You know what I mean? So that's where I kind of disagree. But nonetheless, I'm going to close this one out. You did have 2 questions. I'm wondering if you want to answer these quickly or not.
Come
on. This one here goes back to, I'm going to give you both at the same time. Well, I'll give you one at a time. As I understand, it's Karl Marx and Lenin who studied African collectivism, socialism, is even distributing of the means of production. As I understand, it is Karl Marx and Lenin. I guess they mean who studied African collectivism. Socialism is even distribution of the means of production. What do you think about that?
Karl Marx and Lenin never studied African culture. Give me your sources. Give me your sources that says that Karl Marx and Lenin studied African culture. I'm going to tell you why I think and I feel that is, right? If they did, then they will understand that when you study African culture, you cannot negate spirituality and try to make Marxism a worldly recognized and correct ideology for the liberation of African people. You can't do that. You can't put someone on the operating table, cut out half their brain, and then say you've done something for them. When you study African collectivism, you cannot negate spiritualism because it starts with the sacred science. The sacred science. He negates, Marx negates spiritualism. Doesn't exist. It all starts with materialism and matter with Karl Marx. So you again, send Dr. Saar your references here, send them to me. And I will honestly read them or read into it. But African people are very spiritual people. African people, sacred science says, and we have evolved to understanding of that, see the spirit of life in everything. He didn't say see materialism and matter in everything. Material and matter suggests that there's a thought process. And there's nothing greater spiritually that humans do than think.
So next question. Is there anywhere in America where Black people are liberated or on track to be in the next 10 years?
No.
Yeah, I appreciate the question and the response. I see Brother Ori believes Brother Ori gave you a shout out. We say, bro, Locy remains solid after decades and generations of constant constructive demonstration. Greatest appreciations to Brother Lamumba.
Thank you, Brother Ori. We organized together in Children's First. That's another organization that, as a soldier, I was a part of.
Brother Ori is saying this out. Look, you sent me that video, Bravo Ori. So I know you're a little you holding on to we ain't got no leaders, but that's fine. I just disagree with you, and I don't know why you're so upset that I just disagree with you. And I'm not straw manning because you keep coming. Just leave it alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Well, hold on. Let me fix this real quick. All right. So basically, all right. So don't send me the clip that actually interprets correctly. I played the clip yesterday, and it's the one you sent me. Since you know, I just don't agree with it. I mean, it's simple, but nonetheless, in closing,
let me deal with Pan-Africanism and African and Black nationalism before.
All right, just you say it again
before we close. Let me deal with Pan-Africanism.
Okay, cool.
All right. So So, I mean, there's a light debate. No, I can't say it's a light debate because it's been going on for a while. All right. So, in raising the consciousness of our people, do we use the term Pan-Africanism before we use the word Black nationalism? And some would agree because there's spirituality in Pan-Africanism, but there's spirituality in the Black nationalism too. On the ground, I think it would be easier to raise the consciousness of our people if we build on the whole concept of Blackness first, and then go into Black nationalism, because most people in the world are nationalistic in their countries. They're nationalistic. And nationalism, speaks to a people wanting to lead themselves, define themselves, identify with themselves, the institution being led by people who look like them, their God figure looking like them. That's part of people's nationalism and their language. Of course. But here is my problem with Pan-Africanism. There's a vagueness about Pan-Africanism. First of all, how do you structure it to work in a practical way for our people? You can structure Black nationalism in a practical way that works for our people. Plus, there's certain disbeliefs about Pan-Africanism. Let me give you three. And what it is, right? So there is the well-known Pan-Africanism being the holistic approach for the unification of Black people globally, right? That's one. Here's two. Many African leaders, scholars, teachers on the African continent believes that Pan-Africanism is just for the African continent, and everyone else can benefit from it, but they do not include the diaspora, right? Okay. All right. Then there are those who are concerned about the Arab presence in North Africa, and their Pan-Africanism would not start in North Africa. Their Pan-Africanism would start from the Sahara down to the tip of South Africa. And part of the reason why they say this is because the Arab world had what they call OPEC, Organizational Petroleum Economic something. Okay. In OPEC, no African country is invited. But some people want to include the Arabs into continental Pan-Africanism. Some people don't want that. That's three. Here's number four. There's a growing acceptance of a Pan-Africanism that should be included in Pan-Africanism working for the betterment of all people, to lead humanity to a better place. They want Pan-Africanism to take on that charge. So there's a vagueness to it. Now, let's say I'm trying to deal with a person's emerging consciousness, and I got to choose between how I'm gonna go at that person. Let's say I walk into a barber shop. If I walk into a barber shop, I mention the word Black. Most people in that barber shop, if they are Black, can relate to that immediately. Because we did teach that Black means color, consciousness, and color. Culture, color, and consciousness, right? So I can start talking about blackness, right? And I can start talking about things like, yeah, so many ball players, they black men, but they marrying white, and that's hurting us. Or I can start talking about the skills of a black person relative to white people, and how we are more skilled naturally, and I can have a dialogue around sports about blackness, and if the people are into sports, they can buy into that, right? So once I get their attention, so to speak, I can slip it into any of you brothers in any organization, black, that's fighting for the liberation of our people. If so, I mean, can you address that for me? If not, then brothers, black nationalism, and I will define it for them, has been with us, coming out of the black consciousness movement. And that's why y'all can relate to black, because at one point in time, we didn't call ourselves black. We was called colored and Negro. But in the 60s, the term was the first time we had made this ability to define ourselves. Of course, it was only descriptive, because later on we was taught that when you define yourself, you must speak to a land of people and a culture. All right. But at the same time, there are black nationalists, black nationalism, right? That is the ideology that I can relate to them, and they can, based on their understanding of black consciousness or blackness, I can be assured that I'm making sense. Now, let's say I walk through that barber shop, and the first thing come out my mouth is, Pan-Africanism is now the operative term for us as a people, and it has the ability of uniting African people all around the world. Do you think a lot of them will understand that first? You think they can relate to that first? Can I build off of a history of Pan-Africanism that actually, structurally, foundationally, has a benefit to their lives in the immediate sense? I say no. I must talk. I can talk about black nationalism, right? I can talk about its history here, right? I could build off of their understanding of black consciousness. So as a soldier on the street, I say that we ought to reach out people where they are. Then we must address them in a language that they most understand. That's where I'm at in terms of Pan-Africanism and black nationalism. I'm for it all. Like I say, my armor to fight for my people ideologically is Pan-Africanism, African nationalism. Black thought. That's where I'm at with that.
How long have you been like framing it or looking at it that way?
For as long as I understood the term of Pan-Africanism, and what made me know I was on the right track is in 1974, the 6th Pan-Africanist Congress was held in Tanzania. First time a Congress had been held on the African continent. The rest were held up in Europe. And wait a minute, before you go. Now, ironically, do you know who called for that Congress? Blacks in America. Okay. So they go to the conference, right? And they be taking the task because, of course, they talk a lot about blackness, a term that was not accepted on the African continent, right? In fact, so Moore Michelle made a comment, and the reason why I know this is because James Turner, who was president of Hunter College, and he gave Dr. Ben and Clark the jobs, right? Right. He was one of the of the delegates who helped write the position paper to be, entered into the Pan-Africanist Congress. All right. So he is the one is telling me and others about how the delegation from America was put in their place, right? So Moore Michelle said, listen, I'm paraphrase. I don't have the exact quote. So Moore Michelle said, listen, I'm not interested in you being my black brother. I'm only interested in how you can assess and help me in my struggle in Mozambique. I'm not interested in your in my black brother. Right? Sekou Touré even went even further and felt like, well, since blacks, your delegation that come from America does not represent the country, I don't think they should have a vote. And he said something about blackness, and I'm gonna paraphrase again, right? Right. It has no relevancy. Okay. So here we are. Brother Cliff probably can tell you about that too, right? So they were allowed to submit a paper. And here's the other thing. Black nationalists once again thought that they could unite with Marxists and come to a unity of understanding. And when they got over there, the Marxists flipped it a little bit and started exalting or started talking about class struggle under Marxism, which at that point in time, there were African leaders who were dealing with Marx as a liberating ideology. They seen that, the Africans seen that, and started playing more towards the Marxists than the nationalists, right? So we went over with one thing in mind. I got over there, and once again, the Marxists, just as they moved to defeat Marcus Garvey, just as they moved to defeat African Liberation Day, they moved to defeat the projections, the thoughts, the paperwork, the ideas of the black nationalists over in Tanzania at the time. So it's Pan-Africanism for you, brother. It's a great lesson.
Yeah. So one thing I'm hearing is I appreciate all that, and it's actually bringing some conversation up in the chat. Mr. K said he's from Uganda. He lives in the UK right now. I'm from Uganda, and my parents raised me, schooled me on the term black. My family is black in Uganda, always accepted the term black.
That's interesting. Has there been a black conscious movement in Uganda? I mean, if that's the case, then there has been a movement or an acceptance on the part of Ugandans. And I am unfamiliar with that. I mean, I've never read that there was a movement for black, but I take the word for it because there are people on the African continent that can relate to black. What I'm saying generally is that black is not accepted as we define it in America.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Mr. K can agree with that too. He says, yep, there has been a movement. He said, yes, there have been. Is yep a UK thing, Mr. K? Yep. Hey, but yeah, I think Mr. K can follow that.
I'm gonna check that out too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. K is pretty knowledgeable as yourself. I think we all learn, and I think it's something to check out. I appreciate you saying, "Where's your sources?" Where's the sources at, right? I appreciate when I'm in the room with an elder to ask for sources. You know what I mean? Like, where's your sources? So many of us say I'm not saying feelings aren't important, but where are the goddamn sources? You know what I mean? And again, I'm going to close this out, family. I really appreciate my dear elder, you know, he gonna get me. I told you yesterday about Mwalimu
There you go.
Locy Lamumba
Yes,
for joining us today. That was great education. And again, family, let me say this. For those my peoples, look, don't get upset at me, Baba's mamas, comrades. Just if I have a critique for my critique is on points, not the people. So again, earlier to say that we sidestepped to have analysis of something that our dead, we both acknowledged a person that we appreciate for the work that he's done. It's not a sidetrack, because the reality is I wasn't going to ask the question. It just happens to be that Mwalimu Locy Lamumba said that we had to retreat. And I think there's a lesson to be learned in that. He said that is military science. Because so now the lesson continues. I'm learning, I'm asking questions. You're telling me I can't ask a question from my elder? He said, you can hear that he said, I got long eyes. So I'm asking the question and I'm relating it to something yesterday. I'm sorry if you feel a little gentle. Because we do and we respect our elders, but nobody's above critique.
Nobody.
We said it. Nobody. You would even say it. And nobody's tearing nobody down because we're talking points, not people.
That's right. That's right.
Until the people become the problem. Hey, when the people become the problem, that's the few far in between, like the Umars we mentioned, because he's a problem. Me and I believe that Mwalimu Locy Lamumba would say our points can become problematic at times. His, mine, yours, all of ours, and they're not above us having discussion.
That's right.
And if you know anything about education, you bring in what you talked about yesterday into the day. It's called a process. It's a scaffolding process. And I'm be real honest. You came under my post earlier, and you said, like, I can't have this. You misunderstood what today's discussion was about, thinking I was going to pick up on what we spoke about yesterday, and say, "Oh, we talked about this straw manning." I'm not straw manning. This is what these conversations go in our community, and I will continue to talk about it. You're not going to stop me, so stop the bullying. I'm not a good look. I smile. I'm good. I'm all that. You know what I mean? But I'm not like look. I don't bully me. No, don't do that, because you're telling me I'm straw manning. That means I'm being deceptive. I take great insult with that, because I'm not trying to win a point. I'm trying to heal my people. I'm trying to help liberate my people. I'm not playing games. So don't play games with me, because now you're characterizing me a certain way. And I'm talking about points. See, because you're taking shots at me. Talk about my points. Don't talk about me. Unless I'm the problem like Umar. Now we can talk about that. But let's talk about that. And I want to see you prove it. And I'm open for you to come right here and have that discussion, because I know who I am. And I know how authentic I am. But does that mean my points can't be off? Nah. But challenge the point and stop saying I'm straw manning, because I'm not afraid of your points or your intellect. Just to be honest. But anyway, I'm not going. Now that was side rail in the conversation. If you want to say what side rail the conversation, but let's keep it a buck. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. So again, Baba, real quick, Mwalimu. And you see how I switched that up? Because he teaches, I'm in Mwalimu. So respect our senior elders and teachers and other teachers. Challenge my facts. Don't challenge me in my character.
Right.
Unless you got some real stuff. To say I'm pulling straw mans, it's saying I'm being deceptive to win a debate. And that ain't what I'm about. So I'm taking this very seriously. I'm being real honest with you. I'm being real honest with you. That right there, I don't like. Because now you're challenging my character when you say I'm straw manning. I don't like that. You said it 3-4 times. I did a whole presentation. You sent me the stupid clip. I'm sorry. Let me calm down.
Mm-hmm.
You sent me the clip. I kept it easy on you. But Baba, please, with all due respect, stop attacking my character. And I told you that yesterday. You can come and talk to me. You can sit right here and you can challenge anything I say, but stop saying I'm straw manning, because that's saying I am misguiding, I'm manipulating words and conversation points. No, our community say these 3 points all the time. We don't have no leaders. We don't need no leaders, and we are leaders. That's what they say all the time. I'm not going to stop having the conversation because you want me to stop having the conversation. You're not going to bully me. I'm not the bully. If you've been around in Baltimore long enough, you'll know I'm not going to be bullied. I know I look friendly. I am. That's the part. I will bite you back if you keep pushing me. Intellectually. Pardon. Pardon. So in closing, look like you say you got something on that. Where do you see progress where others may be missing it? What should the younger generations be studying? What books would you recommend? What should us as a people focus on if they're serious about liberation? And this is just a cap off. Okay. And anything else you got to say that we missed on the interview?
Okay. So let's do this in terms of you wanting a book list. I want to give you my email address, and then that's what I'll do. And ask me specifically what it is you're trying to learn, so I'll know what progressive authors I can send to you. Let's do that. So I can be reached at LOCY50@gmail.com. I'm gonna do that for you. The other part was, where do I see us going? Okay. There was once a time when I believed, as a young soldier, that we were capable of launching a revolution in America and winning. Having been in the military, that was seriously romantic thinking. Mm-hmm. We cannot win a revolution in America because we do not have the same level of firepower. We do not have infrastructure capable of pulling off a revolution. So where I think we can win is, just as many of the ethnic groups have a power base in America, we can build a power base for us here. We can build the kind of power base that we could assist our brothers and sisters in terms of finances, in terms of sending goods and services, and as well as we could build a power base that will make our enemy deal with us from the position of power. You got to understand that there are 101 Black colleges and universities in United States of America. Right now, currently, on most of them, there are 6 Black women to every 2 to 3 Black men. What does that say? They are studying soft sciences and hard sciences. So what does that say? That say that they're exercising their intellect on a quantitative level, more so than males. So we've got to do what? Understand that that's going to lead to leadership. And as a man, you're going to have to submit to that kind of leadership, which if you read our history is nothing strange, because we've had black women warrior queens that led armies. So it'd be nothing new to us other than if you buy too far into the patriarchy of Eurocentric thought. Okay. So I'm saying that sisters can lead us back or lead us to a power base. You know why? Because in you building the organizations, right, it's not the brothers that bring the children. Let's be clear about that. More so, it's females that bring the children. Do you know who built the black church? The black woman. Many colleges had started with the black church. I mean, the black church being built by black women expanded into black colleges and universities. So who is essential to building those colleges and universities? The black woman. And we got to get away from something Farrakhan once said. Oh, I'm so glad I can get this in there. So glad. I'm glad because I am right brain dominated. That means that rather than analyzing a lot of stuff, I am more so a creator, and I trust the knowledge of my intuition. All right. But it don't mean that I can't operate out of my left side brain, because math is supposed to come from the left side, and math is supposed to be the language of the universe. So listen to this. I heard Farrakhan say, Allah made man and woman equal, but he made the woman 1 degree less. Do you understand what equal means? You ever see an equal sign in an algebraic equation? That means that when you come to the answer, what's on the left side agrees with the right side.
Yes, sir.
So if on the left side there is 14, and on the right side is 13.999999999, that is not equal. That's not equal. So let's look at the degree. So it's 360 degrees in a circle, right? Now, if that circle is the size of a pizza and you're trying to feed 360 people, that slice that slice is very, very, very small. That's 1 degree. But let's say that we using the circle of the size of Earth or Jupiter or another planet. How big is 1 degree? It's quite big, isn't it? So what is he saying? He's still being sexist. He's still being sexist. And we got to see our women equal all the way around. There's no deviating from that. And if leadership must be through the black woman, then so be it. And I happen to believe that they're going to be most instrumental as we move forward to try to build a power base in America. Right? That's as much as I think we can get out of America at this point. Right? And I don't know. I'm not calling for America to fall anytime soon. Do you know why? Because if America falls, we fall. So let's build to the point of a power base that maybe, just maybe, when we see America fall, some of us can get out of here. Last thing is this. There's a saying that says, until the people see change as being more attractive than struggle, the people will continue to struggle. So let's bring about that change.
Man, that was powerful. Until the people see change as more attractive than struggle, then we will continue to struggle. Yeah, that's something like to reflect on. I appreciate that. I appreciate the words, the wisdom, the knowledge, the long sight, your analysis. I'm gonna have to go back and look at some things myself, and like you said, I'll check into that. Like you said, you'll check into that.
Yeah.
I check into some things because there was much here. I appreciated that, especially that the example of African Liberation Day, and all of that was very powerful in the idea of having like how important scholarship is to liberation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then going into that, what you call sacred science,
Mm-hmm.
and then furthermore culture and the essentialness of that, and how those the sacred science is a part of the culture, and then the approach of different ways to approach our people where they are. One, that Black nationalist piece. Two, I'd rather talk about sacred science initially before I start to talk about other things that they might not be ready to digest at this moment. And I asked you that question about how long you've been doing that, because part of what we see in this FBA fights is that they think that Pan-Africanists, nationalists, or what have you, have never dealt with. They were only thinking about or working on changing the issues or the problems in Africa. So that's been kind of one of the things that they're running with,
Mm-hmm.
although we know that's not true.
Nope.
But even in your language, I think that right there and the way in your approach could help with some of that, although a lot of these people over there, they just don't want to see anything different. But yeah, I appreciate it again. And Mwalimu,
Mm-hmm. Appreciate being here. My first podcast ever.
First podcast ever, y'all.
Ever.
If I had the claps, if I had the,
And like I say, I'm here because I respect your work. And even more than that, I respect your familyhood, your family, and I respect the fact that you're carrying on the legacy of your father.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That gave you an edge up, my brother. And never underestimate that from somebody who did not have a father to do that.
I received that. I definitely do. I definitely received that on an effective level. Effective level. Yeah, I appreciate that sincerely, and then also from you. You know what I mean? Because I know you don't just say things.
Mm-mm.
And so I think did you leave information how people get in contact with you?
I left my email address.
You left his email?
Yeah.
Now, could you real quick, because I know you didn't mention a great part of your work though on the way out. Just kind of mention a great part of your work that you
now.
Yeah, like just
Okay.
briefly.
Operational unity.
Mm-hmm.
That I think I think I see sparks of qualitative work in the community, that if they some kind of way, if the Pan-African nationalist community could come together fundamentally, at least to start to move as a unit, those sparks can become a bonfire. That bonfire can become a lightning rod, right, for greater things. We got to understand this. There was nothing here when I got into the movement in the Black nationalist community for people like myself to build on. As workers, elders, leaders, we got to change that. We got to leave something for those who come behind us to build on and not attempt to rebuild. That's holding us back. Here is our challenge. We know that we can build another great movement. We did it in the 20s. We did it in the 60s. So another great movement is coming. I can't tell you exactly when, right? I see some signs, but I can't tell you exactly when. But this is what I know has to happen. From history and our movement, we got to learn what does it take to build a movement and sustain it long enough for the up and coming generation to receive it in its process, so they can pick it up and carry it on. That's the challenge.
All right, again, family. Please like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate Mwalimu Locy Lamumba joining us today, and I think one of the pivotal points that I think was really a great history piece for me in this all is how he started out through his history and how he's spoke about this transition in Baltimore and him being a part of that transition. In fact, certain types of knowledge not being, or ways of being and ways of understanding and ways of engaging and intervening from these African-centered, Black-centered, Pan-African, Black nationalist type of frameworks and ideas and ways of being, ways of understanding again, and ways of engaging, being pretty much void. And him being here and a proponent and one of the foundational people that it ignited with here in Baltimore and still carrying it forward to this moment in his major work at this moment being about the unification, operational unity. So again, Mwalimu, I appreciate you coming out.
Sure.
Being here with us, and I'm certain those in the chat and watching this and watching it later definitely will appreciate that again. Please hit Mwalimu up with email. He does martial arts too, and we didn't talk on much about that.
Long-term history study of that.
Yeah, so
teaching 40 years.
40 years.
Teach children free.
So he's been in the community doing the work for a long time. So it's not just, and again, when I hear people say, it's all that, it's just talk. Then I say, so if it's just talk, if it's just reading, then people like Mwalimu Locy wouldn't be in our community actually acting on those things that he's read and those things that we talk about and engaging in intervening with our youth and adults. You know what I mean? Youth and adults on many levels. Even if he, to be honest with you, he had such an energy in the Baltimore. It's one of those energies that's needed. Like, he don't have to, like, the accountability that we started off with. Believe it, like, whether or not people like it or not, his level of holding people accountable is not the job that everybody wants to do, but is a necessary job. And believe it, it creates a culture that ripples through our community. People will second guess before they say and do things. And they will do things in certain ways because of it. So accountability is key. And we are creators of culture, maintainers of culture, and a part of that culture in this ecological system we find ourselves in. Those who hold each other accountable is a necessary piece of the pie.
Exactly.
Until next time, family, we appreciate you taking a ride. He said this is his first podcast, but I know y'all loved him. It might not be, I don't know if it'll be his last. We'll see if we can get him back on. He just said, and like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, peace and power.
Race first.
When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back.
Generalized Black woman is doing this and being this. That is that is irresponsible.
No,
when you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind
showing
back.
me,
Black and proud. Claim you're
I agree,
African, black
because
and
I
proud.
think
I'm telling
that
you.
if
When
as
you claim you're
a
Africanist, you're going to
person
get your
who
mind
has
back.
a page,
What is the status of people
Claim you're
with half
African, black and proud. I'm
FBA?
telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back.
That's why I was laughing, because
Black and
I am
proud. Claim you're African, black
I'm
and
not saying the
proud. I'm telling
framework
you.
doesn't do a thing, but
Become a part of it.
we've been
Embrace it.
Forward to black men
Become a
being the
part of it.
masters, being
Embrace
in
it.
control. We must
Become a
have
part
our
of
own,
it.
only
Embrace it.
that those to me one of the
Become a
best
part
stories I've
of
ever
it.
heard.
Embrace it. When you claim you're
I've
African, you're going
mastered
to get your mind
that
back.
mental growth takes
Black
place.
and
It's
proud.
been
Claim
misled
you're
by
African,
leadership,
black
for
and
instance,
proud.
that
I'm
thinking
telling
you
you.
can consume.
When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. proud. Claim your African, black and proud. I'm telling you,